Cyber Threat Brief for February 11, 2026. Supply chain attacks through trusted distribution channels dominate today's brief. Notepad++ update infrastructure hijacked by state actors, an Outlook add-in weaponized via abandoned domain takeover on the official Microsoft marketplace, and 287 Chrome extensions harvesting data at scale. All three exploit the gap between initial platform approval and ongoing content monitoring. In FOSS stealers, Llama Stealer, Castle Loader, Otter Cookie, ACR Stealer, continue to rebuild and diversify delivery methods after law enforcement disruptions, with click-fix social engineering proving especially effective at getting users to infect their own machines. The payroll redirect and Joker OTP cases reinforce that identity verification processes, not just technical controls, remain the weakest link. Here's a full breakdown of today's top security stories. Next section, critical alerts. Notepad++ supply chain compromise by Lotus Blossom. State-sponsored. Between June and December 2025, the state-sponsored threat group Lotus Blossom compromised the official Notepad++ hosting infrastructure, hijacking the update server to deliver malicious NSys installers to targeted users. 2 infection chains were observed. DLL, Dynamic Link Library, sideloading via a legitimate Bitdefender component, Bluetooth service. EXE loading log. DLL to deploy the Chrysalis backdoor and a Lua script injection variant delivering Cobalt Strike beacon. Targets span government, telecom, energy, financial, manufacturing, cloud hosting, and software development sectors across Southeast Asia, South America, the U.S., and Europe. Action. Update Notepad++ to the latest patched version immediately. Block IOCs from the Unit 42 report. Audit endpoints for Bluetooth service. EXE sideloading log. DLL. Consider restricting Notepad++ auto-update until verified clean. MSP, Managed Service Provider relevance. Notepad++ is ubiquitous on admin workstations, jump boxes, and DevOps systems. Compromised updates give attackers direct access to the most privileged users in an organization. Unit 42, the register. Notepad Markdown Remote Code Execution. CVE 2026-20841 CVSS. The Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 8.8. Microsoft's Markdown rendering feature in Notepad contains a remote code execution vulnerability. An attacker can embed a malicious link in a Markdown file. When a user opens the file in Notepad and clicks the link, it launches unverified protocols that load and execute files with the user's permissions. Patched in the February 2026 Patch Tuesday update. No known exploitation in the wild. CVE, or Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. CVE 2026-20841 CVSS 8.8 EPS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, 0.001 23rd percentile. Action. Apply February 2026 Patch Tuesday updates. Consider disabling Markdown rendering in Notepad via settings if the feature is not needed. Warn users not to open untrusted MD files. MSB relevance. Notepad is installed by default on every Windows machine. Markdown support ships enabled, expanding attack surface across all managed endpoints. One phishing email with a MD attachment could compromise a workstation. The register. Microsoft Outlook add-in, agree to hijacked, 4,000+ credentials stolen and abandoned Outlook add-in called agree to, listed on Microsoft's official Office add-in store since December 2022, was hijacked by a threat actor who claimed its orphaned Vercel-hosted URL, Outlook One. Vercel.app. The attacker deployed a fake Microsoft sign-in page that harvested over 4,000 Microsoft account credentials, credit card numbers, and banking security answers. Data was exfiltrated via Telegram bot API. The add-in retained read-write item permissions, giving it access to read and modify user emails. Microsoft has now removed the add-in. This is the first malware found on the official Microsoft Marketplace and the first malicious Outlook add-in detected in the wild. Action: check if Agree To is installed in any Outlook environments. Remove immediately. Reset passwords for any affected accounts and review for unauthorized mailbox rules or forwarding. Audit all third-party Outlook add-ins, especially from independent publishers. Restrict add-in installation to admin-approved only in Exchange Online Policies. MSB relevance. Supply chain risk through Microsoft's own marketplace. Office add-ins load content from developer URLs in real time with no post-approval monitoring. Abandoned add-ins with orphaned infrastructure are a persistent risk across all M365 tenants. The Hacker News bleeping computer. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. Chipmaker Patch Tuesday. 80+ vulnerabilities from Intel and AMD published over 24 advisories, covering more than 80 vulnerabilities across their product lines, as part of their February 2026 coordinated disclosures. Action: review Intel and AMD advisories for firmware and driver updates applicable to your hardware fleet. Prioritize any rated critical or with known exploitation paths. MSB relevance. Firmware updates across client and server hardware require coordinated deployment windows. Inventory affected hardware early. Security Week. Microsoft Secure Boot Certificate Refresh, June 2026. The current Windows Secure Boot certificates, in service for over 15 years, will expire. Microsoft plans to roll out new certificates in June 2026. Action: no immediate action, but begin planning. Test Secure Boot certificate rotation in lab environments before the June rollout. Watch for Microsoft guidance on compatibility with older UEFI firmware. MSB relevance. Certificate changes can break boot on older hardware or custom boot configurations. Pre-deployment testing across device fleets is essential. Security Week. Next section, Ransomware and Extortion. LumaStealer resurges via Castle Loader and ClickFix campaigns. Reported by 3 sources. LumaStealer, Luma C2, has scaled significantly between December 2025 and January 2026 after partially recovering from the May 2025 law enforcement takedown of 2,300 domains. The current delivery mechanism uses Castle Loader, a heavily obfuscated Auto-IT/Python-based loader that executes LumaStealer entirely in memory. Distribution relies on the ClickFix technique. Fake CAPTCHA pages trick users into running a malicious PowerShell command already placed in their clipboard. Castle Loader performs sandbox detection, adjusts persistence paths based on detected security products, and uses a deliberate failed DNS lookup as a command and control artifact. A separate campaign uses Ren Engine, a modified RenPy game launcher, to deliver Hijack Loader and ultimately ACR Stealer or LumaStealer via pirated game downloads. Action: block ClickFix-style attacks by restricting PowerShell execution for standard users. Alert on Castle Loader's deliberate DNS failure artifact. Ensure endpoint detection covers in-memory execution. Educate users about fake CAPTCHA pages that ask them to run commands. Block downloads from untrusted game distribution sites. IOC, indicator of compromise, detection. Monitor for unusual Auto-IT processes, failed DNS lookups to non-existent domains, and DLL sideloading patterns involving dbghelp. DLL, MSB relevance. ClickFix is extremely effective against non-technical users. LumaStealer harvests browser credentials, session cookies, VPN configs, authentication tokens, and crypto wallets. SMB, small and medium business, employees are high-value targets for credential theft. Bleeping computer Ars Technica Securalist. Next section, MSB/SMB Threats. Payroll redirect attacks via help desk social engineering binary defense documented a campaign where attackers compromise shared mailbox credentials, use them to identify employees, then call the help desk impersonating a locked-out physician to get password and A. Multi-factor authentication. Resets. After gaining access, the attacker authenticates via the organization's own VDI, bypassing security detections as a trusted internal user, registers new MFA devices, and redirects payroll direct deposits in Workday. Microsoft separately documented a variant using adversary-in-the-middle phishing to steal MFA codes and compromise Workday profiles at universities. Action. Implement callback verification for password/MFA resets. Call the employee back on a known number. Require manager approval for MFA resets. Monitor for new MFA device registrations from new locations. Alert on payroll/direct deposit changes. Review shared mailbox access controls and audit logs. MSB relevance. This attack targets business processes, not technology. Help desk procedures at SMBs are often informal, making them especially vulnerable. Every employee with direct deposit is a potential target. The register. Joker OTP MFA bypass tool. Third arrest. Dutch police arrested a 21-year-old suspected of selling access to Joker OTP, a phishing-as-a-service platform that intercepts one-time passwords via automated phone calls. The service caused $10M plus in losses across 28,000 attacks in 13 countries over 2 years, targeting PayPal, Venmo, Coinbase, Amazon, and Apple accounts. 3 suspects have now been arrested. Dozens of Dutch buyers have been identified and will be prosecuted. Action. Reinforce to users that legitimate services never call to ask for OTP codes. Transition clients to phishing-resistant MFA, FIDO2/passkeys, to eliminate OTP as an attack surface. Monitor have I been PWNed for employee credential exposure. MSP relevance. SMB users are especially susceptible to social engineering calls timed to coincide with real MFA prompts. The FAS subscription model makes these tools accessible to low-skill attackers. Bleeping computer. Next section, Windows/Active Directory security. WSL being used as a malware attack vector. Sans ISC documented a malware sample otter cookie socket script module 3, SHA-256, a hash indicator. See show notes for details. That actively checks for Windows subsystem for Linux and uses it as an attack surface. The JavaScript-based Crixos Trojan/infostealer detects WSL via WSL distro name, env variable, and /proc/version. Then accesses the Windows file system through /mnt/ to steal browser data. WSL functions similarly to a lolbin. It's a Microsoft-shipped feature that allows execution of Linux binaries, and attackers can drop tools into the WSL roots via \\WSL$ and execute them from Windows. IOC, SHA-256, a hash indicator. See show notes for details. Action, audit which machines have WSL enabled. If WSL is not needed for business purposes, disable it via dism/online/disable feature/featurename, Microsoft Windows Subsystem Linux. Monitor for WSL. EXE execution in environments where it's not expected. Add \\WSL$ path monitoring to EDR rules. MSB relevance. WSL is increasingly common on developer machines, but rarely needed in general business environments. Its ability to bypass traditional Windows security monitoring makes it a high-value attack vector. Sans ISC. Windows 11 26H1, released, Snapdragon X2 only. Net 3. 5 removed Windows 11 26H1 is available exclusively for new Qualcomm Snapdragon X2 hardware. Microsoft explicitly states versions 24H2 and 25H2 remain the recommended enterprise releases. NET Framework 3.5 has been removed as a Windows feature on demand in 26H1. It must now be installed via standalone installer. Net 3.5 end of support is January 9, 2029. Action. No action needed for existing deployments. Begin identifying apps with NET Framework 3.5 dependencies. Enterprise deployments should stay on 24H2/25H2. MSB relevance, legacy, Net 3. 5 apps are common in SMB environments. The removal from 26H1 signals Microsoft's direction. Start planning migrations now. The register. SSH worm compromises systems in 4 seconds. Sans ISC captured a complete SSH worm attack from brute force to full botnet enrollment in under 4 seconds. The worm targets default Raspberry Pi credentials, Pi/Raspberry variants, uploads of 4.7 KB bash script, establishes persistence, kills competing malware, joins IRC-C2 channels with cryptographically signed command verification, and begins lateral movement using ZMAP and SSH pass to scan 100,000 random IPs for SSH. The attack originated from an already compromised Raspberry Pi SSH client string, SSH2, 0 open SSH8, 4P1 Raspbian 5 plus B1, action, disable password authentication on all SSH exposed systems, use key-based auth only. Change default credentials on EOT devices and Raspberry Pis. Block outbound IRC traffic, port 6667, 6697. Monitor for ZMAP scanning activity. MSB relevance. Any internet-facing SSH with default credentials is compromised in seconds. Audit client environments for exposed SSH services, especially EOT devices and Linux appliances. Sans ISC. Next section, General Security News. Kimwolf EOT botnet disrupts I2P anonymity network. The Kimwolf botnet, which has infected millions of EOT devices since late 2025, attempted to join 700,000 infected devices as nodes on the I2P anonymity network to create a takedown-resistant C2 infrastructure. This Sybil attack overwhelmed I2P's 15,000-20,000 legitimate nodes, causing widespread service disruption. The botnet operators are also experimenting with Tor as backup C2. Action: audit client networks for unsecured EOT devices, streaming boxes, digital picture frames, routers. Segment EOT from production networks. Monitor for unusual outbound connections to I2P or Tor. MSB relevance. Poorly secured EOT devices on client networks are prime botnet recruitment targets. Network segmentation and EOT inventory are essential. Krebs on security. 287 Chrome extensions exfiltrating browsing history, 37M installs. A security researcher identified 287 Chrome extensions with a combined 37.4 million installations that exfiltrate browsing history to data brokers including SimilarWeb, SEMrush, Alibaba Group, and ByteDance. The extensions present as harmless tools while requesting access to browsing history. An automated testing pipeline confirmed data leakage to 30+ collection entities. Action: review Chrome extension policies in Google Workspace Admin. Consider restricting extensions to an approved allow list. Block extensions that request history or web navigation permissions unless justified. Use Chrome Enterprise's extension settings policy. MSB relevance. Unmanaged browser extensions are a significant data leakage vector. Enforce extension management via group policy or Google Workspace Admin. The register. SSH Stalker botnet targets Linux via IRC-C2. A new botnet called SSH Stalker uses IRC for command and control and targets Linux systems via legacy kernel exploits. The toolset includes log cleaners, UNP/WTMP/lastlog tampering, and rootkit class artifacts. Action: ensure Linux servers are patched against known kernel CVEs. Monitor for IRC traffic from servers. Check for UNP/WTMP log tampering as a compromise indicator. MSB relevance. Linux servers in SMB environments often lag on patching. Internet-exposed SSH services should use key-based auth and fail to ban at minimum. The Hacker News. Microsoft warns of AI recommendation poisoning. Microsoft's Defender team documented AI recommendation poisoning, where businesses embed hidden prompts in, summarize with AI buttons, and links on websites to manipulate AI model outputs. They identified 50-plus unique malicious prompts from 31 companies across 14 industries. This extends to AI memory poisoning, where injected instructions persist across future AI responses. Action: train users to verify AI-generated recommendations independently. Review and periodically clear stored memories in AI assistants. Be cautious with AI share/summary buttons on third-party websites. MSB relevance. As AI tools become embedded in business workflows, manipulated outputs on health, finance, and security topics could lead to poor decision-making by staff relying on AI summaries. The register that concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina, Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant,